All right. I am recording this video because I am very passionate about something that's coming up. And I just want to document this. I want to put it out on the internet so I can look back at this, much like I have with other videos on here of what's coming. But for those of you that don't know, I'm coaching the Core to Christ basketball team this year. And this is kind of just like my vision and plan for the season, and many seasons to come, hopefully. So I'm just going to run through these slides. Whoa, there we go, and share a couple thoughts. I just gave this little presentation or talk at our parent meeting, and it was well received, and it got me even more motivated and excited to be in a community of young men and parents that are all committed to the same thing. So let me just dive into this. First thing is, and actually, I'm not going to do full screen because then you can't see me. So um, probably not going to do that either. Uh, All right, we'll just we'll roll with this. So the what I want to talk about is this the Quarter Christ Saints. Something that for those of you that know me, know that I have been obsessed with basketball for most of my younger life. That's me on the left when I was probably 4 years old or so. First picture I have of me with a basketball. And then in the middle there, that's me when I was a freshman in high school, and on the right there is me as a senior. And obviously, I got a lot stronger between those two. My junior year, I actually broke my ankle, and I missed 90% of my junior year season, which was a big bummer because that's a big recruiting year. Um, but the reason why I wanted to start with this is because when I was in high school, I had a coach come to me and tell me when I was actually, it was technically when I was in eighth grade looking at going to high school. And I had the option to go to a big high school. There's two private high schools I was looking at. One was Jesuit. I had many, many friends going to Jesuit. It was a 6A school. And another school that was on my radar was a school called Valley. They were a 3A school out of in a 6A system. And just a lot smaller. And I was not sure if that was where I wanted to end up because my goal was to play college basketball. I didn't know where, but I hadn't told anyone that before. And I told my coach, I didn't know he was going to be my coach, but I told this guy that I was interested in playing. And he said, Chris, if you want to play high school or if you want to play college basketball, we are going to find a place for you to play. And I was pretty excited about that. And because, I had never told anyone other than my dad that that was something I wanted to do. I didn't know how to get there, but having a coach say this can happen was kind of cool. Um, my sophomore year, I was one of three freshmen that played on the championship team. And it was a great experience. We won a state championship. Especially getting to win as a sophomore was pretty remarkable. The funny thing is that I actually did not play a second in the championship game. I had some moments in big games leading up to that where I played some critical minutes and whatnot. But obviously, as a sophomore, the team had 9 seniors, and I was the guy whose job was to beat them up in practice. And my coach made a point to let all of us know that on a championship team, you've got starters and leading scorers and role players and bench players and practice guys. And occasionally I would get some bench minutes, some role player minutes throughout the season, but I was predominantly a practice guy on this state championship team. And I think that was great. I learned a lot from it. But later, my junior year, I thought we were going to have a great season. Broke my ankle. Senior year, we end up losing by 1 point in the play-in game to go to state in overtime with a guy hitting a buzzer beater from on the other team, like a 30-foot shot. It was absolutely crushing. That was the end of my high school last game I played in high school. I then went on to play basketball at Carroll College, which is a whole nother story. I did that for 2 years. I worked so hard in that time, poured every ounce of energy that I had my freshman and sophomore year. And after my sophomore year, my scholarship, the coach said they were going to be giving it to a junior college kid. And I got cut from the team basically. And that was pretty devastating, especially coming from someone who his like entire life was dedicated towards that. But then I went on at Carroll to become the student body treasurer my junior year, student body president my senior year. I was involved in campus ministry. I led retreats, learned how to ski, just had a great second half of college. First half was great too with basketball. But what I realized, and the reason I'm telling all this, is that the truth is, I do not care about basketball. Um, I really don't. Like I love basketball more than anything, and I did for most of my life. It was what my life revolved around, and it wasn't until now I'm probably what 10, 11 years, 13 years outside of college, and I now am coming back to coach this thing that I used to love so much and that I haven't done any of in the last 10 years. And I have never been more excited and motivated about this than anything. And I want to explain why. So there's this one of the things that I hope to communicate this season is for all the players on our team that they understand how do you become the person that you want to be. And there's this model, there's a with the business that I am fortunate enough to run with my wife. We're in this coaching group with Dr. Ben Hardy, who's written a number of amazing books. But he lays out in the most recent one this idea of how to achieve impossible goals. And one of the things that he says is critical to understand is our current view of time and just like how time works. And this is the model that we've seen all over the place, which is our past dictates our present and our present dictates our future. And this is something very logical, makes sense. Time is linear. But he actually says that this is not how Einstein explained time. And it's just not how time actually works. And this is pretty crazy. And obviously, I'm talking about this as someone that's going to be coaching high school. But to me, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I have a bigger mission and a bigger vision in my life of helping 1,000 people either buy or start their own company, because I believe that in the world that we live in, there is a need for good, solid Christian men and women to step up and run the businesses of our communities. Because I think that, uh, the most lasting way to positively impact a community is through commerce and business. Obviously, you've got churches and schools and volunteers and organizations, but most of those things would not exist without the business and the commerce and just the economy in a given area. So I want to be instrumental in the town that I live in, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, in creating this exciting, better future that continues. It's like I love where we live. We have a great place, but the idea of having even more just solid humans running the businesses of the future and employing our youth and the workforce up in North Idaho and beyond is very exciting to me. So that's the future that I think about. And that, to me, when I think about that, it's like, how do I get there? How do I do that? And if I think about it from where I'm at now, it's really hard to do that. What Ben Hardy says is that, well, first of all, when you have this model of time, this is where your trauma comes from. Like, you could have been bullied when you were little. I was bullied when I was in eighth grade. I had things that happened. I lost my dad. My dad died when I was 21 years old. I got cut from basketball. All these things that happen, and I can think about my life today and be like, I am who I am because of that. And it could be a positive or a negative thing, but that the reality is that the past is just data. It's literally It's stuff that happened, and people can go through the exact same thing. And some people can get stuck in trauma for years or their entire life, whereas other people like redefine it or make it different to them. So in this scenario, you have this is how time actually works, and that is your present self gets to apply the meaning and define and definition and potentially even rewrite what all the past things that happened to you mean, and position you to like an exercise that I did a long time ago, which was what's the worst thing that's ever happened to me? And for me, I would say it's my dad dying. Um, and that was the most painful, grueling thing that I'd ever gone through. And someone asked me, so what's that? What's the worst thing? And then they said, no, I want you to write about why is that the best thing that ever happened to you? And so it forced me to sit down and say, I guess I'm grateful that that happened because it forced me to grow up more quickly. I was not interested in partying in college after that happened. I, was more motivated to become a father figure in my life sooner than I would have. I actually left engineering, which is something I thought I was going to do for sure, shortly after my dad died, and started my own business because I realized that life's not very long. And so there's all this stuff that I can now apply. This past traumatic thing that happened is now super informative and shaping me into a person that I am now. And then the other thing is that in order to really become who you were meant to be, you have to get really particular about what it is that your future is going to look like. And more importantly, who is the person and what's the identity of the future person that you're talking about or that you want to be? What does that person do? What do they eat? Where do they sleep? What are they reading? What kind of conversations do they have with their friends? Who's in their life? Like what type of food are they eating? What are they not doing? What are the things that they do not, that are below their floor, that they just don't even consider because of who they are? And if you can get really good about defining this future version of yourself, you can pull that towards you and you basically adopt the habits, the mindsets, the decision making of this future version of yourself. And you can radically increase the pace at which you move towards that future version, as opposed to being in your current place, your current limiting beliefs, your current mindset, your self talk, and just trying to move forward. It's like, imagine talking to a 5-year-old and the 5-year-old using their current understanding on how to become like and think or like how to grow into being a 12-year-old versus if you were able to grab that 12-year-old's perspectives and thoughts and questions and things that they understand and the way they think and like adopt them. Like you're going to become that person sooner, if that makes sense. Now, so I'm going to use this personal example because this is something that's very relevant. It's real. It's happening right now. And the truth is that I am coaching this year because I'm extremely selfish and I needed more motivation in my own life. I had this vision for my life for a long time of being a high performer, a Christian, amazing husband, having 5 kids. I didn't want to have a dad bod. I had all these aspirations and I had painted the vision of my future, but I was still stuck in all these bad habits. I was eating ice cream 3 to 4 times a week. And pretty much since I got married, I gained 1 to 2 pounds per year in the last 10 years. And I struggled to carve out contemplative time and journaling time, even though it was new. I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I did have good discipline. I'd work out regularly. I've done CrossFit for the last 8 years, but I just wasn't who I wanted. I wasn't moving in the direction that I wanted to. So what does this look like? This is an AI generated version of who I am working towards. And I want to first say that some people could look at this and say this is very vain. But to me, when you see someone that looks like this, it tells you that they take their health seriously. It tells you that they're disciplined. They don't eat a lot of junk food. They are putting in work, and oftentimes a lot of work that goes unseen or unnoticed. And I believe about myself that I have the discipline and the work ethic to outwork anybody. But I was frustrated because the person who I was did not represent, like if someone were to just look at me, they would have no idea that Chris was disciplined. They would have no idea that Chris worked out and did CrossFit for 8 years and worked out 5 days a week. They'd have no idea that I ran a business or that I was a leader. And I didn't like that. I wanted to be someone that was far more um, like just a visible manifestation, physical manifestation of my discipline and whatnot. So this is um, a like a vision statement that I wrote. So this is on December 24th of this year. I've got roughly 45 days to go. This is what my day is going to look like. And so the reason I'm showing this is literally just to say, um, when you get serious about the future version of yourself and you get really granular and you paint the picture in extreme detail, like, look at this. I'm going to go to the track. I'm going to do my VO2 max test. And that means I'm going to complete 8 laps in 12 minutes, which is a 130 per lap pace or a 6 minute mile pace. And this would be the same level of fitness, actually beyond my cardio fitness that I had when I was a freshman in college, that I had to do. I had to run a mile and a half in 9 minutes. So I'm running 2 miles in 12 minutes. And this is like ridiculous. I'm 34. What am I doing? Why would I do this? Like, what's the purpose? And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm coaching basketball this year. And I want to create a culture at Court of Christ of people that define who they are and who they're going to become, and then get really serious and in particular about what that person does on a daily basis. What does that person, just like I said earlier, what do they do and what do they not do in the most granular level? Like, what type of conversations are they having with their parents? Do they go to church? Are they praying? Do they journal? What do they journal about? What are questions that they ask themselves? How often are they putting in work outside of practice? And so with the basketball team, our goal this year, and this is something that I hesitated to say, and I'm even in saying it now, is like, it's kind of scary to mention because I have all this head trash around why this isn't a good goal right now. We don't have enough skill. We don't have enough talent. We should wait longer. But I want to win a championship. That's the goal. That's like what we're here to do, is win a state championship. And there's a part of me that's like, Chris, like, this is your first year. The school's young. It's our first year in IHSAA. Maybe wait before you shoot for that. But my question is like, when do you decide to become a saint? When is the time that, like, if we know the goal is heaven, that's what we're after. When am I allowed to say I'm starting the process of becoming a saint today? That, like, you don't wait until next year to start. And in the same way, I would say, like, when would be the better time to go for a state championship if it's not right now? um because we are going to at the Saints, we are going to fall in love with the process of becoming champions. And I don't really care about the state championship, but I do want to use the state championship as a way to focus and hone in who we are and what we need to do on a daily basis, because I believe that we are going to be able to accelerate and grow at a much, much faster rate when we get really clear about where we're going and what that's going to take. And so what that looks like is, for our team, we have to talk about, if we are a championship team, if we are a team of people that actually is going to win a state championship, I want you to define for me, what does that team do? What do they like? Back to all of our questions again. What are they eating? When are they going to bed? How many hours are they spending shooting, dribbling, all that stuff? And if you can get really clear about that and the identity of someone that does that, and now, not to mention, a lot of people, in my experience, a lot of men, and in particular in high school, struggle with self-confidence. They struggle with self-talk in their head, with like the fear of like what their friends are going to think of them, and all these like things that are just horrible, horrible things to have going on in your head. And so we're going to focus at Court of Christ on becoming people, like becoming the people we were meant to be, and trying to do this in an accelerated time frame. And so the reason I'm showing this picture of this and why I'm pushing myself for this December 24th deadline is because I wanted going into this season to have a story to physically show that, first of all, I'm not going to ask the guys on the team to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. But I also want to make it known that I expect a hell of a lot from myself, and I expect a hell of a lot from the guys on the team. And this is what can happen when you actually do that. So this is me on August 27th. This was about 75 days ago. This was me yesterday. And then this is who I'm going to be in on December 24th. And I am so like, I am blown away by all the stuff that has happened in the last 2.5 months to get to where I am now. And I've got a month and a half left to hit this target. And the interesting thing is I tried to pick a time frame that's roughly the same length as our season, because I believe that with all the people that we have at our school, with the right focus, effort, and tools and resources, we are going to do some incredible things in a very short period of time. And the most exciting part to me is that we're going to do this with a brotherhood of people that are all committed to the same thing. And the other part that's even more exciting, and I think this is fantastic, is that we have about 18 to 20 guys that are interested in playing, and we're only going to be able to keep 12. So the reality is that I only need people to come and be on this team that really truly want to be on this team. If we don't need people, I mean, if someone's not fully committed to this journey that we're about to go on for 90 days, they're not like, there's someone else that I want to put in there, because like, well, I'll get into what we're going to be doing. So again, this is just an example of physically pushing ourselves, but the values for our team are practicing gratitude and presence. So there's this idea of, um, first of all, when you come from a place of gratitude, and being in the moment, you are free, so free to focus your energy, your mind towards something productive. I actually have heard someone say that if you are able to be truly present in the moment, there's zero pressure. And that was a really interesting thing for me to think about. It's something I struggled when I was in high school. It's like, why do some people perform better from the free throw line when the game's on the line than others? And I would say, for those of us that have been in that situation, when you're at the free throw line and you're struggling and you're not, in the zone, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about what's going to happen if I miss, or I already missed the last three. I'm going to miss, if I miss another one, I'm going to be the biggest joke of the school. All this stuff is coming in from your past and your future, and it's putting this pressure on you in the moment. And the reality is that if you got really good and you practiced literally being in that moment right there, I have no memory of what happened before. I have no care of what's going to happen after. I'm just here and I have one shot to make right now, this second. Being truly present in the moment, all the pressure is gone. And that allows you to produce, like, to play, to and exert yourself from this place of total freedom that you couldn't do otherwise. The other thing is operating from your future self. So I gave that example of me. We're going to define who is this person that we want to be, and then we're going to talk about the identity of that person. There's a book, Atomic Habits, that I love, and it talks about how the goal is not to play an instrument; it's to become a musician. The goal is not to run a marathon; it's to become somebody that runs. The goal is, like, for us, is going to be someone that sticks to, like, I am a person that holds to my commitments. I am a person that shows up every day for myself, even when I don't feel like it. And if we can become that person that comes from a place, from an identity, excuse me, comes from an identity of that, like, future self, that is where lasting change and rapid results are going to come. And that we're going to do as a team. Third one is honoring your word. So this is a big one where it's like, and I've experienced this in my own life, but going back to the beginning of the Bible, the power of word and spoken word to create. God spoke and existence was created. I believe that that is exactly the same power that God has given us. And if you imagine the ability that a human has when someone is a man or woman of their word, you are a man of your word. And so if you say, I will go to the store, I will go to the gym tomorrow, I will do whatever, and you honor that and you treat it as the true gift that it is, which is this powerful thing to literally create. Like everything in our world was created by somebody who honored their word to do it. Houses, buildings, like incredible monuments, cathedrals, stadiums, they all were made because someone spoke and many people spoke and they came together and then they honored that and they actually carried it to fruition. Like honoring your word is how saints are made, but it's how families are, built, and the world is changed from a bunch of people that honor their word. And so we can practice that in a very small way on our team, that you don't have to work out every day. But if you tell me or tell yourself that you are going to work out, you better honor your word and do that. And so, well, I'll get into our non-negotiables in just a second. And then the last one is falling in love with the process. And that is, it's not about the championship. Yes, we're going to win a championship, but I don't care about the championship. I care about becoming a champion, and the process, the grind, the conditioning, the work, waking up early, going to bed early, eating healthy. It's the process. I'm going to love the pain of the process of becoming great so much that it doesn't even matter when the outcome is going to be measured or when the championship is going to take place. We are going to be champions and fall in love with that process. And that's what winning the season looks like. Um, Non-negotiables on the team. So first thing, we got journals. So I have team journals for everyone. I already gave those out to everybody. And the other one is this book, Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. I actually just interviewed Joshua Medcalf on my podcast. It's coming out soon. I'm super excited about that. And the journaling is something that I am absolutely like, we want to have all this personal work put in on our team and everyone putting in time on their own to get better. And I know firsthand that having the goal of doing that means absolutely nothing. We're going to dissect, why do we fall from our commitments? Why do we not do what we say we're going to do? And I believe that it's from self-reflection and daily journaling of what's going on in my head, what's going to trip me up today, what can I do to prevent that from happening, and doing that. So every single person is going to journal, and every single person is going to read a book, this book in particular. And when we condition, like, in order to keep the privilege that it truly is to condition, like there's nothing more valuable in life than loving and just exerting yourself and pouring yourself out, and with this body that God gave us, and falling in love with being a healthy, fit person. That's what conditioning is all about. It's not a punishment, and it's a privilege to get to condition every day. So if you fail to journal every day, you're going to bring your journal, or if you forget your journal at home, you're going to sit on the sideline while the rest of our team conditions, because conditioning is a privilege and it's a gift, and we're going to treat it in that way. And so anyone that fails to journal in the previous 24 hours is not going to be allowed to condition with the rest of the team. I'm going to be conditioning with our team. I gotta hit my 55 VO2 max by December 24th. So I'm looking forward to this. Conditioning is going to be a big part of the season. It's going to be a big piece of how we play. So those non-negotiables are chop wood, carry water, daily journaling and reading, and intentional daily practice of basketball. So that's shooting, dribbling, um, and passing, and then also physical. Any one of those. We're going to track the minutes. How many minutes did you practice? How many minutes did you journal? Those are the two things we're going to log every single day. We're going to have a team scorecard and review that. And yeah, that is the core building blocks of our season. Last thing is just the strategy. What are we going to do? How are we going to play? We're going to play extremely fast paced. We don't have a lot of basketball skill. So the last thing we're going to do is slow down. We have athletes and we're going to eat people's lunches on a full court press. And I'm very, very excited about this concept. I interviewed a friend of mine who's the coach at Carroll College, Dan Pearson, and this idea of efficient shots. It's not anything new in the basketball world, but surprisingly not many teams focus on this. But this is what an efficient shot is. Rather than looking at what are the highest shooting percentage, what we're looking for is what's the most points per attempted shot, and what's that shot selection look like. And what that means is, like, if I shoot 50% from lay-ins, that's 1 point per attempt, because I made 1 for 2. That's 2 attempts. I got 2 points out of it. 2 divided by 2, that's 1 point per attempt. If I shoot 50% from 3, that's actually 1.5 points per attempt. So I shot, 2 shots, or I shot 4 threes, made 2 of them. That's 6 points. 6 divided by 4 is 1.5 points per attempt. So these are the most efficient shots in basketball. We are going to master understanding and getting good at the good, like celebrating the good attempt, not celebrating the result. You can make a lot of shots, but if they're bad shots that you're taking, we don't want those. We want the high efficiency shots. And that's what we're going to be focusing on, combined with fast paced play and just unbelievably high level defense. And we're going to have a lot of fun. And the last thing, team building this year. So I've got some speakers that I've reached out to bring in and talk to the team. Hopefully going on a nursing home visit to talk to some people that are at the end of their life and glean some nuggets and wisdom as we set out in our own. Bringing in a physical therapist to talk about preventing injury, like sprained ankles. What are things we can do like that? Mindset coaches, a nutritionist, the one that I've been working with in my own physical journey. But I'm really, really committed to having a culture of excellence and living into our future selves. So that's what the season's going to be about. And I wanted to get on and put this out there because I know that in 10 years, this is going to be something really cool to look back on, and see where it all started. So peace, YouTube.